What is one thing people do while driving that is riskier than they think?
It's got to be texting or looking at their phone. Um, you don't see as many tickets for people on their phone or texting. It is a ticket. The first time you get it, it's a non-moving violation. If you do it again in 5 years, it becomes an actual moving violation. But I would less than a tenth of a percent of tickets, but just driving around the road and looking, it's that. It's 100% that. But for my side of things, speeding tickets trump every other ticket by
Yeah.
far.
All right, perfect. Well, we're going to learn more about this and other stuff as we talk with my guest today, Nick Marzuk. I'm Rich Brandt, the Loan Doctor, and you're listening to the Loan Doctor podcast with my co-host Jarbas Beznos of Beznos Tech. So tell me something. How did you decide to focus on traffic tickets and criminal defense?
Good question. The first 10 plus years of my career, I was doing civil litigation. We were in an industry that was known as PIP, and DeSantis actually signed a bill that got rid of the attorney's fees in PIP. And right when that happened, me and two people I work with got together and said, well, we need to do something else because we're not going to be able to get paid shortly after this. One of my partners is a former prosecutor. So the thought was, let's get into DUIs. Let's just be a DUI law firm, get 10 grand a pop. We don't need too many. And then the tickets will feed itself because you just build a brand. And I had done tickets in the past. Pre-COVID, you'd go to the courthouse and you'd see a stack of a coverage attorney with 100 tickets in the morning, 100 tickets in the afternoon. They'd mostly be ticket clinic. And I was thinking, there's a market out there. People are still going to be driving. I hate lawyers. I hate working with lawyers. So on the ticket side, there's nobody on the other side of me, which is really nice. So it's me, the court, or the judge, and my client's case. And people are really happy when you get their ticket resolved with no points. It's a low value, high quantity feel,
Okay.
but it's a new story every day. So we were doing something else that got railroaded by DeSantis in a bill. And we said we better do something else next. And it's scalable, which we wanted to do. So we can go anywhere in the state and it's easier to scale.
So you kind of mentioned PIP in your answer. So PIP is that personal injury. What is that? What it is?
Yeah, personal injury protection.
And so what the bill was, I'm kind of guessing what's right.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify. So so it used to be that if you got a ticket, the lawyer fee was covered. Was that
No, so PIP
Okay.
was all it was accidents essentially.
Right,
So
okay.
if you got in an accident, whether you were at fault or not, everyone in Florida has to have no fault coverage.
right?
So you go to street at a chiropractor and MRI, your first 10,000 is covered by your insurance.
Correct.
That first 10,000, so you hit each other.
Right.
Who cares if it's at fault? You go treat with your chiropractor, they bill your auto insurance. So Allstate gets a bill, they're supposed to pay it properly. They don't pay it properly. Chiropractor comes to me and says, hey, I'll take my case, see if you can find me some more money. We find them more money, and they would pay us thousands and thousands in attorney's fees while we collected the chiropractor $20 or $100. So it wasn't a percentage.
Got it.
I'm not going to do it for 30% of $20, but he's not
Okay.
going to pay me $3,000 to collect 20. But the way this law was written for decades was attorney's fees. And that's why for years, everyone's auto insurance went up and up and up. And DeSantis said, we're not going to let attorney's fees be paid by the insurance anymore for PIP.
Got it. Okay. So basically, if you won the claim, it didn't matter how much the attorney's fees were more, or how much the dollars were.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Which drove up the cost of insurance. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had in a situation not necessarily related to traffic tickets, but my stepfather or my father-in-law, my former father-in-law, because now I'm divorced, so single ladies listening. But my father-in-law was my former father-in-law. He passed away,
Okay.
and his insurance company didn't pay for the insurance premium because there was a question about something that was an answer on the
Right.
questionnaire.
See that all the
So
time.
we hired an attorney. The policy was only $15,000, but the attorney got more in fees for going after them and having them pay. So it was worth it for them at the time, which in a way was a good thing in that situation.
Yeah.
But I could see how the cost could get out of control for $20.
It was, and it really got crazy. I mean, for my benefit, it's what I did for years and years. So as an employee at a firm that did it, I liked it. But as a consumer in Florida with auto insurance going up, it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
You'd make $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 on a claim that you litigated, and you're giving the provider the $100 they owed.
Got it.
And
Got
the
it.
same insurance company's paying it, so all they're saying is we're paying X, so now we have to raise everyone's rates to cover this. They're not going to lose money. They're just going to make everyone else pay for it.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
No,
So
absolutely.
I hate auto insurance, all of it. And that's actually the beauty on the ticket side of what I do, because their main goal for everything is to make sure people don't get points on their tickets or on their license from tickets. Over 98% of our cases resolve without any points. But those people, if they just paid their ticket, would be paying the ticket, getting points, and insurance rates go through the roof. So every day I'm just blocking away insurance companies from stealing more money from everyone.
Well, there you go. That's a noble cause.
Yeah,
if
thanks.
I've ever heard. So now, you started the company. When did Ticket Shield?
We started, so DeSantis signed the bill in March of 23.
Okay.
It was like 2 weeks later, we said, this is what we're going to do. Took us about 7 months to, get the research, get the website, get all of what we wanted. We opened in November of 2023.
Okay.
So we're about 2.5 years open. And in the meantime, we were still working at the other firm. Everyone knew it was secret to the bosses or anything, but we were letting Ticket Shield grow as our PIP legs were running out from the bill.
Got it.
So that when we actually did leave, we had to we had something that was actually growing and not just starting at the end.
Right.
And the practice does DUIs, speeding, what
Great question, and thank you for asking. Yes, the name is Ticket Shield, but we do, anytime you're arrested or pulled over is the easiest way to explain. We do DUIs, we do reckless driving, we do suspended license. We even do non-traffic related criminal cases as well.
like stop signs?
Stop signs, speeding, anything that could happen in a car, they get in trouble, that's us. But we've got some grand theft cases, battery cases, leaving the scene of the accident, stuff like that. So it's not just that citation you get. There's more to it. Criminal side of the firm, civil ticket side of the firm.
And what is usually the procedure? Like someone gets in an accident, they call you, and then you guys start with
So in an accident, one person's usually given a ticket. Whether you're actually at fault or not, when the cops come after the fact, they usually do their own mini investigation and give someone a ticket. Those are very few of the tickets we get. Careless driving that leads into a crash, sure. But most stuff is speeding. I mean, if you add up every non-speeding ticket that we've gotten in our firm, it's not even as many as just speeding. So the most common ticket we get is a speeding ticket. All speeds, all counties, all craziness.
One of the biggest challenges when I was getting kind of set to have you on, as we do this, is most of the time we're talking about ways that what this industry, what your industry, how it relates to like residential lending and stuff like that. I found it really, really challenging to kind of bring those kind of elements together. And we'll talk a little bit about it, but I found it challenging to bring those elements together. But at the same time, the things that you're talking about, like everybody who's listening probably has a car.
Right.
And so they might be behind the wheel and stuff like that. So I thought it was really, really important, even if we don't talk about lending as much as we normally would.
Right.
But in the spirit of talking about lending, because somehow I find a way.
As you should.
So you went from open your own place in 2023. So prior to that, you were a W-2 employee.
My whole career. I got out of law school in September of 2012.
Okay.
And up until June of 2025, I'd always been an employee associate W-2 for a law firm, 3 or 4 different law firms.
June of 25?
Yeah. So I'm about almost coming up on a full year of no longer employee.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So now that you're self-employed, how do you think that impacts you? Have you thought about how that impacts you when you're getting ready to buy your next house?
I have, and I don't know where it leads yet. I just went through taxes of last year now, so I'm starting to, and this is the first year that I have to be fully, my own PA is paying myself W-2, but not the way an employee or a firm would. Right. So I don't know how to really reconcile what I'm really earning versus what my income is, if that makes sense. It's all still new to me because it's the first time I've done it. People who've had their own business and PAs forever, it's probably second nature. But
yeah, the trick with people who are self-employed is really determining what they truly can afford.
Right.
Because often what they truly can afford and what they want is different than the confines of the financing rules that are out there.
Yeah.
So they need somebody like me, which is why I work with so many people who are self-employed, who can kind of navigate that minefield with you and come to that number that makes sense. You know? Not only for you as a consumer, but also makes sense for the bank as a lender.
Right. And we and maybe similar, but maybe a tad tangential or different. We're looking to buy a new car, and every dealer has their own financing, but you could go to a bank. So we put in there, and my wife was filling it out, and she's like, "It says household income right now," and it was a year ago I would have said, "Well, it's very easy to calculate because we know," but right now I don't know, put X. We can afford it, but on paper, is the bank going to say, "Well, prove it"? I don't know. We haven't done it yet, so we haven't lied. no issues. But it was the first time it's really hit home. We're not in the market to buy a home or anything right now, and homeowners now. So that isn't something we're considering or needing right now. But it's the same question I would have. I don't know how it works, and someone like you is the one who's gonna steer me.
Perfect. So if you happen to know somebody who is looking to buy or refinance a home, is there anybody that you'd recommend?
You.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You're the loan doctor for a reason.
Swish.
I've heard secondhand and anecdotally, because we're in a group with some similar people, that you are just a wizard at what you do, and you make things happen when countless others for that same client can't. And the reviews they're glowing from what I've heard. You'd be the first call I would make if I needed any sort of a loan or home equity or anything, because you're going to make it work.
That's awesome. Speaking of reviews, I think you have a lot of reviews.
We do. I am fortunate to be in an industry that is low value, high quantity, in the sense of our average ticket fee is somewhere around $100, $120. So you think of a lawyer, you think I got to pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, not with us, not in ticket law. And it's a very high quantity or volume business. So we're able to get a lot of clients who are happy and ask them for reviews. So we're at a 5.0 on Google with between 580 and 590 reviews.
Pretty good.
I think we have 2 1-star reviews, a 3-star, and 1 4-star where the woman said like they were incredible. And I messaged her. I said, "Did you mean to leave a 4? Because we did a great job." And she said, "Oh yeah, I always think there's room for improvement, so I never give a 5."
I do too.
Okay.
I do too.
And
I always give like
I almost
4.
wanted to say, "You just remove it then." That's
Wow.
fine.
Okay.
But we've built up so many 5s that we can afford to take a couple 1s without it dropping. We obviously don't want them, but it's not rocket science. What we do. We treat the clients the way we would want to be treated if we had a ticket. It's not the most important thing in the world. It's very transactional. I know what I want. I want to avoid points. I want a good outcome, and I don't want to be bothered. I want the convenience of not having to go to court just to avoid the points. We do it. We step in, we nail it, and people are generally really happy. It's funny, when I was doing PIP, we'd make some providers 5 to 6 figures a year and found benefits. I mean, big facilities. And it was very expected. No appreciation, no anything. You're giving these people $20,000 checks of saying, "Here's from State Farm from the year." Nothing. These people, they pay the price of their ticket, but they avoid points. And they're the most grateful people in the world. They're so thankful. They're so happy. And then there's some people I don't even think, I'm going to ask them for a review. I'm just going to tell them the outcome of their case. It was very middle of the road. And they're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And I'm like, "By the way, can you leave us a Google review?" And it just adds up.
But Nick, let me ask you this: you speak about volume. I'm always curious. Is that a ticket industry? Do cops have a quota to meet or anything like? Is there something?
I don't see a pattern of a monthly quota in the sense of at the end of each month I start seeing more. It's a stigma, and people talk about it, and you get upset clients. "Oh, he was just trying to fill his quota." I don't see that, and I've been doing this now for years. Maybe it's there. I've got some friends who are cops, and I don't think it's a certain quota as much as it's just like, hey, if it's there and you have the opportunity, give the ticket. I find that there's really good cops. I find that there's really bad cops, and most are in the middle. Bad cops, someone will get pulled over and say, "I know I was driving 50. The speed limit was 40, so sure, I'm going over, but they wrote me down for 65 and a 40. He was bad. He was rude. He was nasty. I want to fight this." And I say, "We're going to fight it, But do you think the cop who lied on the side of the road is going to come to court and say, I lied? She was like, no, he's going to double down. It's going to be worse. Then you see the other side of it. Cops pull someone over going 79 and a 50. It'd be a $280 ticket. And they drop it down to 9 over. Now it's a $131 ticket. And the person calls me and says, look, I know he gave me a break. I don't really want to fight it and have him go back. I say, he's not going to go back. We're just trying to make sure you avoid the points. And you get a lot of that good cop, which is pretty cool. People appreciate that. It makes my job easier too, because I can say, remember when the cop saved you $150?
Right.
Don't be too upset.
So I'm gonna kind of tell you guys a story about me when I was in college. I got a ticket. I was driving up from South Florida to Tallahassee because I went to school at Florida State, and go Noles.
Yeah. Go Gators.
I went to school at Florida State. I got a ticket at 2:00 in the morning for going 69 and a 65 in a small little town, on the way from Tallahassee, like I-10 to Tallahassee. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to fight this ticket. I got to be able to fight this ticket. I'm smart or whatever. I'm in college. I'm an arrogant little kid,
Right.
stuff like that. So I'm going to fight the ticket. I'm not paying it or calling anybody. I'm just going to do it. And keep in mind, I'm old. So this is a long time ago.
Is this the Dion time? Was he there?
Yeah, this was Dion. Yeah, actually, I had classes with Dion Sanders.
Really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
So I go to the day of my hearing. I go to the courthouse, which isn't the courthouse. It's the judge's house.
Really?
That's how small the town was.
It's like my cousin Vinny kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I get led into this room where the judge's chambers is, his desk, and I'm sitting in a chair, and then the police officer who gave me the ticket comes in.
Right.
And he's sitting there, and we're just kind of not saying nobody's being mean or rude or anything like that. You always got to be nice. And I'm looking around the room, right, and I see a picture of some guy, another guy, and and in between him is a big fish. And I'm looking at the picture, I'm looking at the cop, and I'm looking at the picture, and looking at the cop, and I don't know yet who the other guy is. But it's the cop.
In walks the judge.
In walks the judge, who's the other guy.
Small town.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't even remember. It was so long ago now. I don't even remember what to say. But somehow the thing came up that you could go to school, and I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. That's so funny. It's crazy because I tell people all the time, you don't need to hire me for your traffic ticket. No, DUIs, criminal, much more reason you want to for sure hire a lawyer.
Right.
Civil tickets, it's just financial. You're not going to jail for speeding unless it's super crazy. But I explain to them, I say, you could also fix your own leaky sink in your bathroom with a YouTube video and a trip to Home Depot. Sure. But do you want to? Or you can call a plumber for a couple $100. I'm similar convenience. And that plumber might fix it better than you would with your video. Definitely. I might get you a better outcome. So you go to court with a speeding ticket, right? And you don't know what to look for. And I'm talking today.
Right. You
log into Zoom. You're like, oh, this is easy. I'll just log into Zoom. Why would I pay the attorney? In your speeding ticket, it says the cop paced you and, he was going 50 and you were going 50 and the speed limit's 30. So you're speeding. It says paced. You're like, well, I just want to make sure I don't get any points. This court says, okay, Mr. Brandt, your case. And you're like, I just want to change my plea if I can avoid points. And they're like, sure. Pay the $256, no points, no school, move on. And you're like, yeah, I did it. I would have got that ticket dismissed because I know where the mistake that the cop filled out is or didn't fill out. So similar maybe to what you're doing with work, I could maybe go to a traditional lender and get something sometimes, and maybe I'll get this rate or this amount of money, but you're going to get in the weeds more as being an expert in your field and get them a better rate or a better situation for their lending. Maybe. I think assume that's what you're part of what you do, and you outperform other people, not just we can all get you the same loan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because I talk about I always refer to like greatness, like the difference between great and good is really fractions, right? But the difference between bad and good is easy to see, right? But the difference between great and good is oftentimes the ability to take advantage of those moments when those moments happen. Yeah. And so often in lending, and clearly in what you do too in terms of the defense, is that oftentimes people will call a lender and tell them what they want, whereas I'll look at their overall picture and give them what they need.
Right.
Right. And the need is usually better than the outcome because they don't know. Right. There's information, like you said, there's information you don't know that I know that I'm privy to that's going to make your situation better that you wouldn't know to even ask about. You said something earlier that also resonated with me in that you have these people who are just so unbelievably appreciative. And so in lending, like my favorite thing to do is really work with first-time home buyers. I mean, that's not the only thing I do. I don't want to say that. I like working with everybody.
Right.
But especially people who are self-employed. But people who are first-time home buyers have this appreciation just as you walk through that cycle that is like exceptionally rewarding, which I imagine is a little bit like what you get hundreds of times because you do a lot more.
Yeah, it's one of the people say there's, in my mind, maybe in the legal realm, there's a stigma of like traffic laws very bottom of the barrel, like not respectable, but like anyone could do traffic law. And I think anybody could do a lot of law as long as if you're a lawyer, you just figure out your area. But there's way more of a personal connection. And I think a lot of lawyers have zero personality or bad personalities. And this is a commodity, what we're doing, tickets. You have to like the person you're giving. It's only $100, $150, but you've got to vibe with them quickly to feel like this is who I want handling it. And we're talking to new people all the time. So the appreciation for it is unlike anything I've ever seen in my defense, plaintiff's, civil career. It's unmatched now. It's wild.
What's your conversion ratio when somebody reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I got a ticket"? How often are they like shopping to see if they can go to another person, or are they, once they kind of reach you, that's pretty much where they're going?
There's a good amount of people who call for services we don't need to help them with. I got a ticket in Indiana. Well, we're just Florida, so I can't help you. So I don't consider those viable leads. If you talk a viable lead, someone who's got a ticket that we could handle and make sense, I'd say we convert about 75 to 80%. A lot of people are shopping. We will price match when it makes sense, but a lot of times we stand by our price. I mean, we're fortunate now, especially with our Google reviews, to be able to say we're great at what we do. If you type in ticket lawyer and look at the map that Google gives you, you're going to see us at the top with almost 600 reviews and a 5.0. Then you're going to look down and you're going to see 4 point something with maybe 100 reviews. It's apples and oranges at that sense. So we have a little bit we can hang our head on, and then I try to explain to them, you're kind of going to get what you pay for. And it's not like I'm charging you $2,000 and they're charging you $80. You're maybe going to save $15 or $20 by going with a firm who you're not speaking with the attorney right now. You might be on a call center. You might be talking to just a receptionist. I'm on the phone with you. I'll be the one handling your case. And that helps push a lot of people over, which is great.
You mentioned that a lot of your business is like speeding, right? Can you expand a little bit about the super speeder?
Yes, I can. That's a great question. So in July, Florida enacted what's known as the super speeder law. So if you're going 100 miles per hour ever, or you're going more than 50 over the speed limit, so 81 in a 30 or 100 in a 70 is now classified or could be classified as a super speeder. It's a criminal charge. Now, we've gotten dozens of them since. It's not as common as a regular speeding ticket. And what you see is a lot of cops, speaking of good cops, whether it's for familiarity purposes, lazy, or being good, and I think it's more the good, they're writing 103 mile per hour tickets as a regular civil infraction still. So the court gets it and they tell us, hey, this could have been a super speeder. And I know, I'm right, and I told them, but we're fortunate, so we'll take the civil side of it instead of criminal. But it's a real problem. Some counties handle it better than others. I haven't had anybody with a real negative outcome. None of our clients have gone to jail with it. It really just becomes a hefty fine that stays on your criminal record now, which is annoying. But it's easy to go 100 on the highway. It's really hard to go more than 50 over. So putting them in the same bucket is, I wouldn't say unfair, but you got to draw the line somewhere, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I always, when I was younger, I was always hoping that they would give you like like a frequent ticket discount,
Yeah.
not where you could like just pay a monthly fee,
Yeah.
and then you go as fast as you want, and then you get pulled over. You just show
say,
the card.
"Hey,
Yeah, I've
I've
already
been
paid.
contributing." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Double
funny.
jeopardy kind of thing.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like if you paid money to use the Autobahn in Europe.
Right. You get to use it. I have a question for you. Because you brought it up and I'm not fully into it yet. Now that I am fully self-employed,
Right.
have my own firm, if I was looking to get a loan for a home, what types of things would I expect to be different now that I'm here versus when I was a W-2 and I had a very obvious, here's my earnings statements type of thing?
Well, I think that primarily the biggest difference between the two is we would look at your tax returns, but then we would also look at your bank statements. So we would look at the bank statements kind of tell a story of how much money you're really moving in and out.
Okay.
And so sometimes the tax returns aren't going to reflect that the same way. And so we're going to pay a little bit more attention to those, whereas in a traditional sense for somebody who's a W-2, the bank statements don't really matter.
Right.
And the other thing that is in your case, if we were going to kind of get specific and you were looking now, you've got that 1 year in business. Typically when you're self-employed, you want to have a 2-year track history. Okay. However, there's an exception.
Okay.
The exception is if that you were in another field making similar income, but it was this not another field, but another job with similar income, but in the same field. Okay. So because you were doing the same things as an attorney before, the fact that you only have a 1-year history instead of a 2-year history makes it right.
But absent that being in a similar field, it's way better to come to the table with 2-year history than where you'd be at 1.
Doesn't make a difference.
No? Okay.
No, in your situation, in terms of like what the rate would look like or what the ability to qualify would look like and stuff like that, it usually doesn't. It might make some differences for businesses that take a little while to ramp up. Okay. Right? Because you might, you could open the doors for a business and the first 6 months you didn't make any income.
Right.
And now you have to average that income over 12 months. The 6 month that you really generated income has to now average over 12 months, which gets a little bit diluted.
Yeah.
So in that case, sometimes waiting a little bit can be that way.
Sure.
But we'd kind of figure that part out.
Gotcha.
But great question. Glad you asked. So now tell me what factors or what happens when somebody ignores a ticket?
Ooh, good question. If you do nothing with a ticket, just ignore it and never do anything, you will, after 30 days that it's in the court system, you get a D6 late fee. It's kind of a warning. Hey, you better pay this $23 late fee, or if the next 30 days you don't, your license gets suspended. It's kind of the only bite of the apple the state kind of has. So you get your ticket January 1st, January 31st, you've done nothing. They're going to say, hey, you've got this late fee. Pay it by, March 1st or March 2nd, because February is weird. And if you don't, March 2nd, your license suspends. You do nothing, now you got a suspended license March 2nd. It'll stay suspended until that ticket is cleared. And you have to clear that ticket by paying the late fee, paying the reinstatement fee to Tallahassee, which is another $60. So a lot of our tickets actually come in that 31 to 60-day window. So they let the ball drop. They're not suspended yet, but they got a notice in the mail from Tallahassee saying, hey, if you don't clear this up, you're going to get suspended. And they go, oh, shoot, I forgot about it. Let me call someone. So then we have to charge them a little bit more to pay that $23 for them. Okay. Every county has a different process. Broward County makes you pay in person, which is insane for Broward being like the second biggest county in the state. Mm-hmm. Thank God I can get to the Deerfield courthouse in 4 minutes from my office, so it's not a problem. But some counties you can just pay over the phone, some you pay online, but Broward's in person. But to answer your question, if you do nothing, you get a suspended license. And if your license is suspended for more than 6 months, it's deemed to be knowingly suspended. So now if you get pulled over in October after March, now it's knowingly suspended. Now it's a criminal charge. If you get pulled over within 6 months and it's unknowingly, it becomes just a civil ticket for it. But if you just refuse to pay a ticket, you get a suspended license, and then you're calling our firm eventually for the other part of the firm that deals with criminal.
Now, real quick, I do want to point out before I get to a story that has to do with that, and I'll go back to college.
Again?
Go back. Oh, everything like bad that happened to me when it comes to a vehicle was in college. Yeah, I used to speed. I was like, I remember going so fast one time that I zipped past a cop. I pulled over Like I saw him, I just pulled over. He came over to me.
It's like,
and he's
"Thank
like,
you."
"Why'd you pull over?" And then he ended up not giving me a ticket.
All right.
Yeah, which was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, you can do ticket defense anywhere in Florida.
Yeah, we're licensed in Florida,
Okay.
so any of the 67 counties. Now, there's some that are obviously closer. There's
Right.
some that are easier. Some throughout the state. We've got a network of attorneys we work with. So Tampa is a perfect example. I don't have
Okay.
an office in Tampa. It's a 4-hour drive. But we've got a network and an associate counterpart who we work with in Tampa because Tampa makes you go in person. So some parts of the state are more cost prohibitive because it's up in the panhandle between Jacksonville and Tallahassee, and they're only in person. And to get there is an 8-hour drive. So our fee for that is way higher.
Got it.
We've been in, I want to say 48 of the 67 counties so far since we've been open for tickets. So there's some we haven't had yet. Some we've been in once or twice. And some we've called and said, look, our fee would have to be $450, which may not make sense to you, but I don't live there and it's in person and it's not. But we're licensed anywhere in Florida. It doesn't matter where we're at to handle Florida anywhere.
All right. So in 1995, I got pulled over.
Okay.
Again?
No, I got pulled over again. The police officer.
A big fishing buddy of the judge.
No. The police officer told me that my license was suspended,
Okay.
and it's been suspended for years,
Ooh.
and he could take me to jail. And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, this is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
I swear to God, like I swear I didn't know. Like I'm a pretty responsible driver. Like now that I graduated,
When you speed,
I'm
not-
a pretty responsible driver now. I don't do the same things that I did before. And he told me that he could have arrested me.
Yeah.
He didn't arrest me. He told me what I had to do. I had to go down to the courthouse and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I go down to the courthouse to find out, they give me, again, this is, 30 years ago. So I'm going back. What I remember is that they gave me a copy of the ticket and a copy. The ticket was in Tallahassee.
Okay.
It never got paid.
Yeah.
The ticket was signed by me. And so I had this really, really bad habit of leaving my wallet in the car. My roommate took my car or was driving my car, got a ticket for speeding, and handed the guy my license.
Wow.
Okay. The signature on the ticket didn't match. I had to sign a bunch of things. So what they did was they then compared my signature to the signature on the ticket.
It's not you.
And my driver's license too. Right. And they're like, oh yeah, this isn't you. And they, I had to pay a fee or whatever because
Reinstatement and everything,
reinstatement I still had to pay.
It's crazy.
But that was unbelievable.
Stuff like that happens all the time. Both sides of it. More common, people drive with a suspended license without knowing it's suspended.
Right.
But we get people, and with camera tickets now these days, it's the ticket goes to the person who's the registered owner of the vehicle. But if I'm driving your car and blow through a red light camera, it's not coming to me. It's coming to you.
Right.
Those are a pain to deal with. Red light cameras are so weird.
What about driving without insurance?
It's a non-moving violation, and I would say it might be 100%, but let's say 99%. If you show proof of insurance after the fact or when you got the ticket, either or,
So
the court will
reinstated insurance.
dismiss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times, most people have insurance in those situations. They just don't have the proof on them. So they hire me and say, hey, I got a speeding ticket and a no insurance ticket. Here's my insurance. It's valid. And I say, okay, we should get that one dismissed and we'll handle the speed. We'll handle them both together, but this one should be dismissed because you've given me proof. Some people say, grandma got a ticket, for 6 months ago, she got in an accident. We took her car away. So here's the insurance she had at the time, but she's not going to get new insurance because she's no longer driving. She surrendered her license. The ticket can still go away as long as you prove you had insurance at the time.
How would that change if you got into an accident without having insurance?
If there's injury and you don't have insurance, so Florida doesn't require you to have bodily injury coverage. You have to have property damage and no fault. So if you're underinsured or uninsured and there's injury, your license can be suspended until you satisfy a medical judgment against you. So you hit me without insurance and I make a claim that it's $5,000 worth of injury, or you have property damage because now you don't have the right insurance and you damage my car. DMV is going to suspend your license until you pay that or until I sign something that says I'm releasing you and you're fine.
Okay,
Those are a pain.
but it's not a criminal thing to do.
No, no. The criminal part is leaving the scene of an accident, drunk driving, obviously with an accident, but accident by itself is the nature of it is unintentional. So most accident stuff falls on the civil side. When you're drunk or you leave the scene of an accident, that's where it can bleed a little into the criminal side.
So you mentioned, you brought up about the red light cameras,
Yeah.
the camera or the traffic camera tickets and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and I know that there was a landmark case in Broward, or I don't know landmark because it's this one particular judge threw it out. I don't. Did you hear about that?
This was recently.
Yeah, recently.
Yes. So years and years ago when they first came out, they challenged the constitutionality of red light cameras. This was before I was doing ticket law. They essentially, the Florida legislature said, okay, I hear what you're saying, but to smooth out that potential unconstitutionality, we're just going to add this little part to the statute that now makes it ironclad. So they came back. This one that you're referencing, which is recent, was very unique because it comes down, I think it was a speed camera. Because now, first it was red light cameras. Then they added speed cameras in school zones. And then it was school zones the whole day, not just during flashing times. Now there's cameras on school bus stop signs to get you. These camera violations are everywhere. But this red light camera case out of Broward was very specific to this does not apply to any other case. This is very fact specific. This cannot be used by anyone else to argue just blanketly, hey, red light cameras aren't legal. Okay. The crazy thing about camera tickets is the legislature said if you're going to use cameras to give tickets instead of someone actually pulling you over, you have to give them a notice of the violation first. You have to mail it to them. So most people get something in the mail. So if it's a red light violation, it's $158. It comes in the mail. You get like 2 months to pay it.
And no points, right?
No points. It doesn't even get in the system yet.
Right.
If it's this camera, a school zone speed, it's $100. You get these notice of violations in the mail, and we get calls on these all the time. And they're, I wouldn't say annoying because the consumer should be calling. They're prudent about it. But if you're within your due date and it's that $158 notice of violation or $100 notice of violation, I tell you just to pay it because it's not in the court system. There's no points. And let's say you hire me for $100. Well, now I have a $58 pillow to maybe beat. Now you've let it turn into a ticket. It's in the court system. It just doesn't make any sense to hire me if you can pay that $150, you can get out. And I feel like I repeat myself and it's ingrained. I tell them if you're my parent, my spouse, my cousin, my neighbor, whoever it is, I get it in the mail. I'm telling the same thing. There's no reason to let a notice turn into a ticket. Now, if you weren't driving, so you're a snowbird and your neighbor drives your car, to keep it going and they get a red light ticket. You get it in the mail and it says, hey, you've got a red light notice. There is an option. You can fight it, but it doesn't go away. It just passes the buck to the other person. So you would have to reply to that notice. I was out of town. My neighbor, John Bradford is the driver. He was the one doing it. This is his address, and they'll now send him the ticket. So if you get that notice of violation and you're driving his car and you say, hey, it was you, let's just pay the $158, that's the easiest way because it's not on your record. It's not in the court system. There's no ticket for you. It just goes away. But because everyone gets these in the mail and the state makes you send them out, people get it and they panic. They call a ticket lawyer, and I tell them you're better off remembering my name for the future. Remember how honest I was, but pay it. Don't call me. Don't waste your money.
Nick. How about if I have the situation, my son gets my car, he's under my insurance, he's got a friend, they're speeding, they got into an accident. Am I liable to it?
Yeah. I mean, the vehicle has the insurance, right? And your son's going to be
he's insured
in it. Now they're speeding. I mean, the speeding part, it doesn't make you more or less liable. If you run into someone at the normal speed limit or you run into them at 10 over, unless they're going to get an accident reconstructionist at trial to tell a jury, hey, this is crazy. But yeah, you're still going to be liable.
Even though it was my son driving, he was with his friend.
It becomes, the further away from you and the vehicle it gets, it's harder to. So let's say it's your vehicle, you insure it, you and your son are on it. Your son is at school and he asks his friend to go pick him up lunch, and the friend drives your car.
Right.
Now it's different because it's one layer away. The car is still insured, but the person is going to probably be covered under their own insurance with their parents.
Hopefully.
And you want to be as far away from that as possible,
yeah.
obviously. But if you're trying to get far away, every layer that removes you or your son from it is better to say, well, why am I responsible for this? This boy is the one driving. And did he have permission?
Right.
He takes your son's keys and doesn't have permission. That's a lot different than your son saying, hey, I let him go drive the car too. So there's so many different forks in the road. You could say better for us, worse for us.
So getting back to the camera ticket, so so let's say you ignore the notice. Now it becomes a traffic violation.
Yeah.
If I remember the Broward case, isn't that sort of when it became a traffic violation? Then it was up to the state to prove who was driving the vehicle.
Yeah. So camera tickets by nature in Florida don't carry points because they can't prove who it is. So you get pulled over for a stop sign ticket. Officer Jones pulls you over, IDs you from your driver's license or your college roommate's driver's license, and he gives you the ticket. Yeah. He can actually say, I pulled this person over, I saw it. The camera tickets are a little different. There's people within the police departments who sit there and review, gets your license plate, they cross-reference it to the registration, and they issue the notice. But if you went to court and said, it wasn't me, or I just want to resolve this, there's no points. They can't issue points. So the points in Florida come when you're guilty and you admit guilt or you're adjudicated guilty. That's the fork in the road that determines points. So if you just get a ticket, an actual ticket, and you pay it, you're going to get points if it's a moving violation. So we get this all the time. Someone calls and says, I got a ticket for going 63 in a 55. I haven't gotten a ticket in 25 years. I was speeding. I was in a hurry. I want to pay it. I was speeding. I say, I don't care that you've been a good record for 20 years. Your insurance is going to go up. Don't pay that ticket. At least call and find out your pros and cons of what you can do, because if you're just paying that county that issued the ticket, you're now admitting guilt. That guilt gets sent with the corresponding amount of points to the insurance companies. And now they're going to, as you know, Florida insurance is going to go nuts whenever they have an opportunity to. So camera tickets, because they can't prove who's driving, don't carry points. So if you got a notice in the mail, $158, and you ignored it, your deadline passes, 2 months come. Now you get a ticket in the mail. So now it's going to be in the court system. Right. It's got your name, and it's $264. You can still pay the $264. You're admitting guilt, but there's no points attached to it. So when you call me in that situation, it's always a delicate conversation from my end, because I say, look, here's your options. You can pay $264, or I can charge you $100, and I can make sure that your driver's record doesn't show up with a guilty. Because when we go to court, they switch it from a guilty to a withhold of adjudication. It doesn't matter for points purposes, but some people want to make sure they don't have any guilties on their record. And some counties will reduce that 264 back down. So Hillsborough, they'll make 264 go to 75. It makes a lot of sense to pay $100 to drop, 190. Broward will drop it to 158 or 175, depending on a tiny little fraction. Miami, they keep it at 262, no matter what.
But what about the state's burden to prove that you actually were driving if you're saying I wasn't driving?
So that's where because there's no points attached, they say, well, you had your chance to tell us that it was your neighbor when you were snowbird. If not, we can reissue to them, but you've got to sign an affidavit or under oath testify. But most people, when they get that far, it's them or it's their kid. It's like, I'm not going to pass it to my kid or my wife. It's all the same insurance. Very few times is it, that just wasn't me. Now, you sold the car a week before. You have a proof of sale. I can come to court and say, my client sold this car the week before.
Is that called the shaggy defense? It wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
But wait a second. And again, I don't mean, it's weird that I'm kind of focusing on this one thing.
Yeah.
Not that I go
especially because I don't even like these tickets.
How many tickets you got? How many?
No. It's just the freakiest thing to me, because what I'm thinking is just from a criminal standpoint, right? What burden does the owner of a vehicle have to tell you who was driving? If you don't know who was driving, that's like, if right. I saw a crime, or if a crime was committed, I don't have to tell you who did it if I knew who did it.
Right.
Like, I'm not under an obligation to do that.
Right. You bring up the exact argument that challenged it years and years ago and brought this up. I would tell you the reality of the day-to-day
doesn't matter.
Is it doesn't matter. It's traffic law. They're going to do what they do. And to appeal a traffic law case, you're paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to appeal it.
Got it.
And when we go to court, I was in Delray this week, and the judge, he tells all the people, the non-attorneys there, he says, I'm going to rule. You're going to have 30 days to appeal if you want. It's a really long process. It's really expensive, and it's going to be way more than I'm going to fine you, but you're welcome to. Not mockingly, but the reality is traffic law doesn't get appealed much, and it's a cash grab. I spoke to somebody who was a Boca PD cop but lives in Deerfield, and Deerfield just added these camera tickets on Hillsborough, right in front of our office, from Dixie and Federal, where Deerfield Elementary is. It's a school zone. The company that set up the tickets, the camera, so your notice of violation comes in the mail. It's $100. If you pay that $100 and just kill the issue dead in there, the city of Deerfield is making $40. The company who does the infrastructure is making $60 on every single
ticket
camera.
quota.
Wow.
That's a ticket quota.
It's
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
But there's no quota. That company,
Well,
they don't care how many they get. They've
Yeah.
just done the research to say, these people are always speeding in this school zone. We can set this up and make $60 every notice. And then if it gets to the trial level, I'm sure they're still making their 60. And then it's just such a cash grab. And people call and they're so furious. And I say, well, at least you don't have to hire me. Save a little bit of money.
No. Okay. So what I'm hearing is a traffic ticket or a camera ticket is like a bad marriage. It's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah,
Just pay.
it's just honestly, and I tell people, if you want to hire me, here's the very clear expectation. I'm going to get you no points because you're going to get no points, but I'm going to switch it from a guilty to a not guilty. And to get that, you have to go to court. So I'll deal with the inconvenience of that. And depending on the county, I can tell you're going to get a reduction. Some counties, they just don't reduce. Some they do.
yeah, I see a lot of videos sometimes gets into my feed that on DUIs, right? So people have like a card and the cop stops them. And they have like, I'm under suspicion of committing a crime. And then what's the procedure they should go if they're intoxicated and the cop stops them?
That is a very loaded question. So on the back of every Florida driver's license, in order to have a Florida driver's license, you have to agree to, there's called implied consent. So you've agreed by having a license that you will submit to a breathalyzer or some sort of test. So they can take your blood alcohol through blood, urine, or breathalyzer. So upon probable cause and suspicion of DUI, they can ask you to do that. And a lot of people, everyone knows the motto, the stigma is just don't blow. And the reason you say that is, well, don't give them any ammunition against you. They could say I was swerving and I smelled like it, but if they don't have a reading, how are they going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in criminal court that I went? And that used to be and it still is. That's what people think. Don't blow, don't blow. And I wouldn't say yes, blow, and I wouldn't say no, don't. But I would say that when you fail to provide the breath or the urine, it's now a crime. It used to be something that they would never prosecute, but not giving the breath is now a first-degree misdemeanor. That's a slam dunk for the state. Now, if you were over the limit and you knew you were, would you rather have 2 crimes of slam dunk DUI because I blew way over and slam dunk or no refusal, but I way got drunk? Or would you rather have, well, I refused, but good luck proving the DUI? Now that's a personal, independent, case by case type of scenario. But DUIs are very crazy because the reality is they could happen to anyone. I mean, if you drink alcohol and you drive at all, it could happen to you. You could say, I only drink a couple times a year, but I was at my neighbor's retirement party and it was a mile down the road, and you get popped. Now, DUIs can go one way, and if you're a good, no criminal record, it's a very benign DUI, it's not enhanced, there's no injury. A lot of counties will offer a path to a reckless driving, which is a better outcome than a DUI. But all it takes is one, these people riding their e-bikes at midnight, driving home from whatever job they have, they run into you, you're drunk, you hit them, fast forward, dead. You're now looking at decades potentially in prison because you drove drunk. It's so scary. Uber and Lyft and the push for designated drivers has helped a ton. And the younger generation now seems to be drinking less than older generation. So all that leads well. But most of our DUI clients are spotless criminal records, never had anything before. It's not the type of crime where, you are a classic criminal or what's the word?
It was just like a bad decision.
It's a bad, yeah. You're not a career criminal.
Right.
Somebody gets arrested for stabbing someone in a bus stop. They probably have a past.
Right.
But
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
every DUI
Right.
is, well, this person's, a violent criminal and they've been doing this. It's a bad decision. Happens to 16-year-old girls, 84-year-old
Celebrities,
women,
celebrities
and men.
recently, right?
And that's one of the things that in our industry, especially on the ticket side, people always ask, who's a great referral partner for you? Who sends? It's a good problem, but anybody can be. If you know somebody who has a license, they could be a good client. A personal injury attorney, they like to work with chiropractors. They work with MRI facilities. It's a very focused group of who they all scratch each other's backs and work together. Not in a bad way. Their cases just work together. Anybody, a plumber, a CEO, a loan doctor, anybody could know somebody who needs a ticket, and that's where we step in. But same thing with the DUI on maybe an elevated level. Anybody who drinks and is willing to also drive, it's a risk. Enhanced DUIs where there's a kid in the car, there's an accident, or you're above a 0.15, they become even crazier, and it's scary. It's scary because the part that can send you to prison isn't something that you're doing worse. You're still driving under the influence, but now another factor comes in, extra unlucky, and decades of your life is now potentially changed.
Yep. You mentioned earlier about the red light camera thing, about that it's just cheap. It's better to pay it.
Yeah.
Are there any other scenarios where it's just worth just paying the ticket?
Yes, I would start with the caveat of always call us. I say that I don't like these red light camera ticket calls because they don't, they're kind of a pain to. You sit on the phone, you're not getting business, but you should still call and consult because you may not know what the right choice is, and let me tell you that. And I'll be the first to honestly tell you, don't hire me. You've already done, this is what you do. But if your main goal is no points, which is what everyone's main goal is,
Right.
you only get points for moving violations. So if you get pulled over and you have a tint ticket, your tint is illegally dark.
Yeah.
That's called a non-moving violation. There's a handful of them that are common. If you get pulled over and he only gives you an insurance ticket, it's non-moving. You can go to the court, you can prove it.
No seatbelt?
Seatbelt's also a non-moving. So cops sometimes give breaks. They usually come in conjunction, but if you just got a tint ticket and you called me, ticket in Broward, Palm Beach is $116, right? I can't charge you $120 for something you could take care of with no points. So now I say, look, I'll do this for $85, $89. But I tell them, what is your end game? Do you want to get rid of the tint? And then I can get it dismissed. If you want to keep the tint, and I got a tint ticket when I was in college, you just pay it. Yeah, your license will show you have a tint ticket and it's guilty, but it's a non-moving. Courts see that it's not a big issue. Insurance doesn't care. But if he says, I got the tint taken off, I want to fight it, and I go, okay, well, you can save $30. Pay me $80 instead of $110. I'll go to court and show them the proof. I make some money. You get your ticket dismissed. So in some situations, I'll have that counseling conversation with them of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here are your options. But most people don't just get a non-moving. It's I pulled you over for careless driving or blowing that stop sign, and I'm going to add on this tint ticket. So it's usually I'll handle the stop sign, throw in the tint, for a super reduced rate. I'll just handle them both because I still have to file paperwork. I still have to go to court.
Got it.
But yeah, I wear a shirt. You've seen it, but it's got an old man yelling into a speech bubble and it says, "Don't pay that ticket."
Yeah.
It's obviously an attention grabber to get what it is, but
Sure.
most times, if you're not a traffic lawyer, even if it's one you should maybe pay, always start with calling someone, whether it's me or I want a competitor. I hate insurance companies so much more, auto insurance and how they operate, than I care about, whether it's going to me or someone else. Just don't pay it unless you know for sure it's not going to impact your insurance.
Got it. Now, what factors make a case stronger or weaker?
Ooh, the short answer is the cases that get dismissed are obviously our best cases. So those are stronger cases because we can get them dismissed. And what makes a ticket get dismissed the most common is incorrect information put on the ticket by the cop. So speeding tickets get dismissed the most because you have to have a certain amount of information accurate on the ticket. So that's a big help. Crash cases are the easiest cases to get dismissed. not because of what I can control, but if you get in a crash, a stop sign, I had the right of way, he had the right of way, who cares? The cop comes and gives you the ticket. The cop didn't see what happened, right? He came after the fact, he issued you the ticket. So we go to court, and the court's going to say to the cop, did you witness the... And the cop's going to say, nope, I came after the fact. So now the only person who can tell the court what you did wrong is you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably not showing up to his court case in the middle of the workday in person to say what he did or didn't do. So crash cases are uniquely separate because the cop who issued the ticket didn't witness the violation and therefore can't tell the court what you did or didn't do. So I love crash cases. They have a high success rate of dismissal, and it's not because I'm doing anything. It's not like I'm Nick Marzuk, this super crash attorney who just has this niche for it. It's the nature of it that the cop can't tell the court what you did, so you're taking them out of the picture, and now you're waiting on any other witness to show up and testify against you. So it just adds an extra hurdle for the outcome to be against you. And then I tell you, if you still show up against him, you're still looking at no points, no school, and probably just a fine. But let's push it to trial. And then we charge more for crash cases because you have to go to court twice in most counties. So in Palm Beach, if you got in a crash case, we'd go to a pretrial hearing where most tickets resolve. But here, I wouldn't. I'd say I actually want to set it for trial. Now, that first hearing's on Zoom. It's easy. I can do it anywhere. But the trial's in person. So I'm not going to charge you the same $100, $110 to say I'm going to go to Zoom for you and show up in person for court. So you're going to pay me $150, $160 for your crash case, but you have a super high chance of dismissal based on my statistics and just nature of it that he's not going to show up. Mm. So wouldn't you pay $50 more for the chance of it off your record?
But the cop can have a deduct whose fault it is. I was rear-ended a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And then obviously he deducted that the guy hit me from the back. So that way it's an obvious situation where he was at fault.
For our situation, it's not. The cop can say, I showed up at the sign that's at the crash. His car was in the middle of the intersection. His hit him here. So it was obvious this way. I spoke to him and that's where the court says, I don't care what he said. That's hearsay. Right. Mm-hmm. So any statement made out of court can't come in unless it can be said at court. Mm-hmm. So the cop can't tell what other people told him. He can say, by the time I got there, they were all on the side of the road. I spoke to 4 witnesses and all indications were it's your fault. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, where are those witnesses? Well, none of them showed up today. So dismissed. And to your point, and what I think you were hinting at, what if that person slammed the brakes or reversed into you? Mm-hmm. It's possible. The cop can't say what did or didn't happen. Right. Whereas a stop sign ticket that he actually issues or speeding and he gets you on radar, he can say, I was running radar on Federal Highway and I pulled him over. Mm-hmm. He shows up after the fact. He can say, looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck, but I'm going to say it's not a duck.
Have you ever had a situation where someone's job was impacted by the ticket?
Yes. So when there's a crash case, there's a couple boxes on the ticket. Crash, yes or no. Property damage, yes or no. Injury, yes or no. And then it says serious bodily injury, yes or no. And then it says fatal, yes or no. That box that says serious bodily injury is a very important box for my job. So serious bodily injury is defined by Florida statutes, but it's essentially disfigurement, permanent scarring, life-threatening injury. So you break a leg, it's not considered serious bodily injury. But your head is now fractured and you've got a caved skull because of it, serious bodily injury. If you don't get that ticket dismissed, it's an automatic 90-day license suspension and $500 fine. So I had one very unfortunate guy was a driver for a shredding company. He didn't do anything wrong. And it was so unfortunate. He pulled across a 3-lane highway to make a left. We have video from bank. It was all clear. This car came flying down 100 miles an hour down the road and went right into him. And the guy's, cracked his head. Serious bodily injury for sure, but we're saying it wasn't his fault. And the court's hands are tied because it's Florida statute that makes you get that 90-day. And it's tough. So he lost his job because of that ticket, which sucked. Also, commercial driver's license. If you're a commercial driver's license, CDL holder, or Class A, you have a higher duty for better driving patterns. And if you get too many tickets, you'll lose your ability to have a CDL. Now, they're usually better drivers, and they usually are more aware of it. But if you've gotten 2 or 3 moving violations in a short amount of time, you lose your CDL. And if you're a truck driver, that sucks.
No, it was important for me before we leave this episode was to kind of tie in the importance of making sure that you don't do something to impact your job, which essentially would impact your ability to qualify for a mortgage, in addition to possibly impacting your credit and all kinds of things related to other, it just goes from one thing to another. So we're going to leave this episode. We're going to have Nick back. Nick, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here on the Lone Doctor podcast.
This was awesome.
Jarvis,
Thanks,
as awesome.
Appreciate it.
Loved what you brought. Loved what you brought to the table.
Thank
I'm Rich Brandt, the Lone Doctor. Thank you for being in my waiting room.